I didn't have an umbrella. The rain hit harder than the forecast said it would, fat droplets sliding off my hair, soaking through my shirt until it clung to me like a second skin. By the time I got to the front door, my jeans were stuck to my thighs, and my top, thin, white, no bra underneath, was practically translucent. Of course, I fumbled with the keys, shivering as I finally got the door open. The familiar scent of the apartment, clean linen, old wood, a hint of whatever cologne he always wore, rushed out to meet me. And the light above the stove? Still on. I stepped inside and shut the door behind me with a quiet click.
Hey.
A voice called from the kitchen. My stomach dropped. I turned, breath catching. He was leaning against the counter, barefoot, mug in hand, wearing gray joggers and a black t-shirt that clung just enough to remind me he worked out. His hair was mussed, like he'd just run a hand through it, and his eyes, sharp, dark, familiar, landed on me. Then didn't move.
Didn't think you were coming tonight,
he said. Last bus was late, I murmured, brushing damp hair out of my face. His gaze dropped, just for a second, a blink. But it lingered lower than it should have. I felt my cheeks flush, my arms folded fast over my chest. He raised a brow, like he didn't notice. But he did. Oh, he did.
Caught in the rain?
He asked, sipping his tea like this wasn't the most awkward moment of my life. No kidding, I muttered. He walked over slowly and pulled a dish towel off the oven handle. He handed it to me without a word. Thanks, I said, taking it with one arm still folded over my chest.
You're dripping,
he added, a hint of a smirk in his voice. I'm aware.
Didn't bring a jacket?
It was supposed to be clear tonight.
You always did believe the forecast.
I laughed, mostly to fill the silence. And you always act like you don't sleep?
Didn't feel like it,
he said, leaning against the fridge now.
Apartment's quiet, empty.
I swallowed. My shirt stuck tighter with every second, my nipples visible through the fabric no matter how tightly I crossed my arms. His eyes kept landing on me, flickering away, then back again, like he knew better but couldn't help it. And I was definitely not helping by standing here in the kitchen like some drowned college girl cliche. But before we get into that, if you can, please leave a like and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. It's free and would help the channel a ton. Plus, then you'll get to hear more salacious stories like this one. But anyway, let's get back to the story. I should probably change, I said, trying to inch past him. His arm reached out. Light. Just a brush of fingers on my wrist.
You just got in,
he said.
Sit a second.
I hesitated.
I'll warm up some tea,
he added. His tone was easy, light. But there was a flicker in his eyes, something unreadable, something watching. I nodded, slowly, and sat at the counter, clutching the towel over my chest like it was armor. He moved around the kitchen with the kind of comfort that comes from living with someone, not being a guest in their space. And yet, he hadn't lived here long. He married my mom last year. They met at some corporate training retreat. She said it was unexpected, but she smiled every time she said his name. I missed the wedding. Grad school, I said. Timing. What I didn't say was that I wasn't ready. Not to meet him. Not to pretend like I could ignore the memory of how I'd met him once before, when I was 20, and how my heart had skipped for all the wrong reasons. Back then, he was just a charming man with a deep voice and broad shoulders. Now he was my stepfather, and he was pouring me tea while I sat soaking wet in his kitchen, and he couldn't stop looking at me. He slid the mug in front of me. Our fingers brushed. I watched him take the stool across from me. His eyes were darker than they had been a minute ago.
You know,
he said,
it's kind of funny.
What is?
How much you've changed since the last time I saw you.
I raised an eyebrow. Changed how?
You used to wear a lot more hoodies,
he said, eyes pointedly not dropping to my shirt.
Now you come home looking like a runway model who lost her umbrella.
I scoffed. It's called laundry day.
It's called hard to ignore.
The air shifted. I tugged the towel higher over my chest. You're staring, he smiled.
I'm just looking.
Same thing.
No,
he said, low.
Looking is quiet.
I swallowed. The tea burned my throat. He was leaning in now, one elbow on the counter, watching me like I was the only thing in the apartment. Maybe I was.
You really don't have a bra under there,
he asked suddenly, too casual. My heart slammed in my chest. Excuse me?
You came in from the rain,
he said, shrugging.
Just hard not to notice.
I didn't exactly plan on modeling tonight.
I didn't ask you to.
His voice had a rough edge now, half teasing, half challenge. I stood up, flustered, towel dropping slightly. His eyes dropped with it. You should probably go to bed, I said quickly, backing away.
Probably.
But he didn't move. I hovered in the doorway of the hall, unsure what to say, what I even wanted him to say. The towel was slipping again. I clutched it tighter.
You've got your old room,
He said.
Sheets are fresh.
You made the bed?
Figured you'd show up eventually.
I paused. You figured?
I hoped.
That one word hit harder than it should have. I nodded, biting the inside of my cheek. Night, I said.
Night.
He echoed. I turned to go, and just before I disappeared down the hall, I heard him say, soft and low,
You really shouldn't walk around the apartment like that.
I stopped, looked over my shoulder. Like what? He held my eyes.
Looking like you don't know what you're doing.
I blinked. Then I walked to my room, heart pounding, legs weak, towel still clutched tight, but not tight enough to forget the way his eyes had followed me all the way there. That's all for this section. Part 2 is coming out tomorrow. We post these videos every day, so don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more risque stories like this one.